Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. How are you guys?
Sir. Fine, sir.
So we started discussing half bridge inverter, and then we have derived the equations relevant to the output and input parameters like voltages, currents, frequency analysis, and then we find out the power and the input current. So let's look at the example so that we can utilize all these understanding to find out the unknown variables. So in half bridge inverter, we have a load of 2.4 ohms resistor, and the DC input is just 48 volts. So we have to see how much AC voltage we get from 48 volts DC. So we have to find out the RMS of the output voltage at fundamental frequency, then output power, average and peak currents of each transistor, peak reverse blocking voltage for each transistor, and average current supply on the DC side, total harmonic distortion, distortion factor, harmonic factor, and then finally lowest order of harmonic. So now we are given with two input parameters, which is the supply voltage, DC voltage 48 volts, and a resistance load is 2.4 ohms. So voltage given is in the input side, DC side, whereas load is connected on the AC side, output side. So from equation, we know that the first fundamental is 45% of the DC voltage. So therefore, it is 21.6 volts is the RMS value of the first fundamental. And whereas total output voltage is half of the supply voltage, that is 24 volts. Therefore, we can find out the output power, and mind it, we can find the output power for two. One is the total output power. For this, we are going to use V square by R, but which voltage is going to be used is the total voltage to find out the total power. Similarly, we can find out the effective power being consumed, and that is PVO1, and obviously that we can find out by taking square of VO1 and dividing it by R. So this is going to be the first fundamental power that is going to consumed by the load. So now the difference between total power and the first fundamental gives us the loss. Now next is to find out the peak current for each transistor, and peak current we can find out by the total voltage V out 24 volts divided by 2.4 ohms resistance is going to give us the peak voltage. And because each transistor conducts only for 50% of the duty cycle, so therefore the average current drops from that peak to half, and that is 5 ampere is the average current for each transistor. The peak reverse blocking voltage is equal to the DC voltage. We have discussed that earlier, because when the upper switch is closed and the lower switch is open, then we will get the total voltage, DC voltage across the lower transistor. So therefore, the total supply voltage is going to drop across the transistor. Now we can find out the average supply current. For this, we are going to use the total power divided by the DC supply, and the average current is 5 amperes, just like the average current of the transistor. Now we can find out the values of harmonic voltages, and then finally find out the total harmonic distortion. So to find out total harmonic voltage, we can just take the difference between the total voltage and the VO1, the first fundamental voltage, and that would give us the total harmonic voltage. So therefore, output voltage is 24, whereas first fundamental voltage is 21.6, or we can write it down like this, and then divided by VO1, which is 21.6, and therefore we are going to get the total harmonic distortion. So other way around is because output voltage is the total voltage, whereas VO1 is 45 watts, 0.45 of the supply voltage, and the output voltage Vout is basically half of the supply voltage, Vs by 2. So one is 0.5 supply voltage and the other one is 0.45 of the supply voltage. So we take the difference and then take the square, that is the 0.2176 Vs, and which we are going to just divide it by first fundamental voltage, which is 0.45 Vs. So therefore we will be getting very high total harmonic distortion, which is 48.34%, which is too large as compared to 5% total harmonic distortion that is allowed by the standards, IEEE standards. So that means if the total harmonic distortion is high, then we have to apply filter. And after applying filter, what we will get, that we can approximate by finding out the distortion factor. So how are we going to find the distortion factor? For this, we have to use harmonic voltage and divided by the number of harmonic square. And if you remember, this square indicates the order of the filter. So 2 means we are using second order filter. So therefore, we will be using harmonic numbers to evaluate all those significant harmonics. We don't need to get into detail of very small numbers. And then finally, we get the harmonic numbers of harmonic factor of all these harmonics, and therefore we get the numerator as 0.024 of the supply voltage, and whereas VO1 is the 0.45 of the Vs, so therefore distortion factor is 5.38, which is again higher than 5%. That means on a half bridge inverter, even second order filter is not successful. it cannot reduce or suppress the harmonics below 5%. So next is to find out the lowest order of harmonics. So for this we will be calculating the closest non-zero harmonic voltage, which is the third harmonic. So third harmonic we can find out by VO1 divided by 3, because only the difference is harmonic number between the voltages, and therefore the harmonic factor is going to be 1/3, which is 33.3%. And if we find out the distortion factor, that is 3.704%. And because the distortion factor and harmonic factor both are higher than 3%, and therefore the lowest order of harmonic is considered third harmonic. So third harmonic is strong enough, and it is equal to 1/3 of the first fundamental. So according to standards, this kind of product is not allowed to be used. Any question regarding this? Okay. So next is the full bridge inverter. So in full bridge inverter, there is a difference between half bridge inverter connections and full bridge inverter connections. So इसमें आपने काफी ख्याल रखना है when you are drawing the circuit. Although we are using the same capacitors, two capacitors with supply Vs/2, but we are not using this branch. Let me सर्किट समझ आ रही है या मैं ये राइटिंग जो है ये रिमूव कर दूं?
सर ये राइटिंग
एक Okay, so screen is visible, and now we are starting the full bridge inverter. So in this case, these two capacitors, they are just for the safety purpose. Otherwise, we are not using them as we have used in case of half bridge inverter. ठीक है, अगर ये कैपेसिटर हम ना भी लगाएं तो हमारा जो फुल ब्रिज है उसकी कनेक्शन पे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, ठीक है. बट दिस इज फॉर द सेफ्टी, बिकॉज when we are switching the full bridge, we are going to generate harmonics, or purpose of connecting the capacitor is to consume those high frequency components, और जो डीसी सप्लाई है उसके अंदर किसी किस्म का कोई हार्मोनिक करंट ना जाए, ठीक है. So this is the purpose for the capacitor. Okay, so now we have 4 switches along with their built-in diodes, or maybe if there are these diodes are not built-in, we will be connecting separately. And when selecting the switches and the diode, we are going to look at the resistance ऑन टाइम रेजिस्टेंस फॉर बोथ। ठीक है, चाहे ये डायोड स्विच के साथ बिल्ट इन हो या ना हो, सेपरेटली अगर आपको डायोड लगाना पड़े तो वी आर गोइंग टू सिलेक्ट इट बेस्ड ऑन द ऑन टाइम रेजिस्टेंस. So now you can observe that the load is connected in the midpoints of half bridges. We have to make the full bridge inverter. We are using basically two half bridges, two switches in on the right side, two switches on the left side of the load, and the midpoints of each half bridge, they are connected together using the load. Okay, so if you remember, this is just like the H bridge. So what is H bridge? H bridge is used with the motor and the load is connected in between, in the midpoints of this H bridge. So basically this is the same H bridge we can use for the control of motors, DC motors for example, to rotate, to control the speed of the motor in both directions, in clockwise as well as in the anti-clockwise direction. So the circuit is same if you have used already somewhere H bridge. Okay. So now let's look at the waveforms, how we are going to supply the duty cycles on these Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4 so that the load gets AC voltage across it. So this is how we are going to supply the switches. So VA0 is the voltage across A and the ground, or this voltage A and 0. This is basically a virtual ground. So therefore, we will be getting the voltage as Vs by 2 and minus Vs by 2. So when we are connecting and operating the full bridge. So how we are supplying, and we have to switch on Q1 and Q2 together. Whereas Q3 and Q4, they are switched together. So after T by 2, they are switched together. So for first T by 2, there is zero signal given to Q3 and Q4. And after T by 2, they are given the duty cycle. And therefore Q3 and Q4 work from there. And we get voltage across the load like equal to the DC supply, because when we are closing the switch, so this is basically the bridge. And here we connected the load. So now to get the positive cycle, we are going to close and current is going to flow like this in resistive load or in AC load. So this is the current flow from Q1 and Q from Q1 load, and then Q2 is on. So now if this kind of load is inductive type, RL load, then the inductor is going to store the energy in when we are switching on Q1 and Q2, and keeps the current in the same direction when even Q1 and Q2 they are off, and the current flow would become like through the diodes D3 and D4. So D4 is conducting here, D3 is conducting here. So the inductive current goes in positive cycle, goes back to the supply through diodes D3 and D4. Similarly, if we want to get a negative cycle, then the negative cycle is going to be coming from Q3 and Q4. And the direction of current is in opposite to the previous red colored, and therefore if the Q3 and Q4 are off but inductor is charged, so therefore the current is going to flow through the D1 and D2 and going back to the supply. So the third waveform actually indicating this scenario when we have RL load. So this is for highly inductive load, whereas this is high. Highly inductive load. So therefore, the current flow through the diodes is almost T by 4. So this is 90 degrees. That indicates highly inductive load. So before switching on the Q2, the blue current was flowing. So that was flowing through D1 and D2. Then we switched on Q1 and Q2. The load inductance starts charging in other direction, in positive direction, for example. And then we switched off the switches Q1 and Q2, and then the current drops from inductor. Inductor starts discharging, and therefore still the current is positive. And this discharge of red current is through the D3 and D4, and then we switched on Q3 and Q4 to make it charge in the other direction. So Q1 and Q2 they charge it as a positive cycle, and Q3 and Q4 they charge it like a negative cycle. Okay. So if we look at the first fundamental of the current, it's almost 90 degree lagging the phase voltage, and therefore we have highly inductive load. Okay. So let us now get into the switching sequence of the full bridge inverter. So when Q1, because Q1 and Q4 they are in one half bridge, they cannot be switched on together, both Q1 and Q2, because they are going to short the supply. Okay, if Q1 and Q2 they are switched together, they are going to short the supply. So therefore, there should be opposite duty cycle, just as we have shown here. That is going to be applied to the gate and the emitter. They must be opposite to each other, and they also should have a dead time, because switches their time is not very sharp. They need some time to make the on state convert from on state to off state and vice versa. And that time sometime maybe for slower devices it could be around in some microseconds, whereas for faster devices it could be in nanoseconds. So therefore, even faster devices, they also need this to have a dead time in the switching signal, so that at no cost we switch on Q1 and Q4 together. So now for one half bridge, there could be a switching state, like if upper switch is on, we will be indicating it as 1, and lower is off, and that is indicated by 1, 0. But actually the first one indicates that Q1 is on, and the second digit indicates that Q3 is off. So this is how we place 2-digit value. Why 2-digit value? Because we have two half bridges, and therefore 1, 0 means Q1 is on and Q3 is off. That means basically Q1 and Q2 is on. Okay, so when we have 1 on the switching state, that means that indicates basically the upper switch, and when we have 0 over there, that means the lower switch is on. ठीक है, ये numbering hopefully आपको ये switching state समझ आ गई. So therefore, when we have switching state 1, 0, that means we have switch 1 and switch 2 on. Switch 1 is the upper switch of left phase leg, and S2 is the lower switch of the phase leg. So therefore, the upper switch, which is S3 is off. So 0 indicates that S3 is off, and 1 indicates the upper switch S1 is on, and 0 means the lower switch S2 is on, and 1 means the lower switch in left half bridge S4 is off. Similarly, for other way around, 0, 1 indicates the Q3 and Q4, they are on. 1, 1 means Q1, both upper switches are on, and 0, 0 means both lower switches are on. So we understand what happens when we are Q1 and Q2 on. The voltage would appear across the load. But what happens when we have Q1 and Q3 both on? and Q2 and Q4 both off. What happens when Q1 is on and Q3 is on? What voltage is going to appear across the load?
सर ये दोनों एक साथ ऑन हो सकते हैं?
जी हो सकता है कि Q1 और Q3 हम इकट्ठे ऑन करें।
सर फिर डबल होगी।
क्या डबल होगा?
लोड
वोल्टेज डबल होगा?
वोल्टेज यस
नहीं, वो
या
सप्लाई, अगर हम सप्लाई को देखें तो सप्लाई इज हियर, यहाँ Q2 जो है ये भी ऑफ है, Q4 जो है ये भी ऑफ है। सो अब कितनी वोल्टेज होगी लोड के क्रॉस? Load is disconnected from the supply. Therefore, there is not going to be any voltage appearing across the load. और वैसे भी लोड के दोनों टर्मिनल शॉर्ट हो गए हैं, ठीक है? तो what happens is कि if there is some RL load और अगर करंट का फ्लो इस तरह से है तो it would just circulate over here, ठीक है? Just like a free wheeling diode के अंदर जो होता है करंट सर्कल करना शुरू कर देता है, that is the same scenario. Similarly, in the other way around, if we have 0 state, this state is which one? When both upper switches are on, this state is 1 1. When we have both lower switches on, this state is 0 0. These two states are called zero states because in this case there is no DC voltage appears across the load. That means there is no output across the load. अगर हम यहाँ पे waveform की बात करें तो if this condition is there, then we have zero voltage. Let me modify it a little bit. The waveform is going to be like this. ठीक है? So this state was 1 0. This state is 1 1. This state is 0 1, and this state is 0 0. ठीक है? This is our square wave. So if we talk about all the states, these two states, they produce zero voltage across the load, and therefore it is called as zero states. So we try to avoid these zero states or minimize the duration of these zero states so that there is no the duty cycle is not reduced because of these zero states. ठीक है? तो अगर हम ये स्टेट डालें भी तो we'll try to minimize the time duration for these zero states. पॉइंट समझ आया? So therefore,
Yes.
These are the switching states, and because we have 4 switches, so therefore in these cases we have this combination of 4 switching states. And if the case is for 3-phase, in 3-phase we have all possible switching states equal to 8, starting from, because 3-phase we have 3 phase legs. So each phase leg, each digit indicates whether the upper switch is on or lower switch is on. Okay? So one digit could be 0 or 1. 1 होगा तो upper switch on है, 0 होगा तो lower switch on होगा. ठीक है? So therefore in 3-phase we are going to have 3-digit switching states, and total possible is 8 switching states. And between these 8 switching states, only 6 switching states are the useful ones, and 2 states that are 0 states for 3-phase, and that is 1, 1, 1. All upper switches are on, or 0, 0, 0, or all lower switches are on. Okay, so these two are the 0 states in 3-phase scenario, and all other in between states, they are non-zero states. ठीक है? So अगर हम non-zero states की बात करें for full bridge inverter, that is 1, 0 and 0, 1. जबकि 1, 1 और 0, 0 जो हैं, they are switching state because they produce 0 voltage. They do not produce anything across the load. Okay. So now we can also talk about the gating sequence, that is the PWM, which we are going to give to the switches Q1, Q2, Q3 and Q4, and for generally they should be of 50% duty cycle, that is for 50% of the time for T/2, Q1 and Q2 are on, and for other half cycle Q3 or Q4 are on. And secondly, because we are using half bridge configuration, so therefore 2 half bridges, they make the full bridge inverter. So therefore the gate isolation must be there, that is for upper switch. Q1 और Q3 जो हैं, इनके लिए हमें स्पेशल ड्राइव का ख्याल करना होगा. For Q2 and Q4, that is okay without any isolation. ठीक है? और ये आपको याद होगा, we discussed about it earlier, कि जो भी हमें VGS चाहिए, so we are looking with respect to the gate and the ground plus the VDC, जो भी हम DC voltage source apply कर रहे हैं, plus that 15 volts or 20 volts, whatever is the voltage we are going to give at the ground, plus the DC voltage. Okay, so this is going to be VGS or VGE, and this is going to be VGG. So between gate and ground, we will observe high voltage, even higher than the DC supply. ठीक है. So before starting these equations, let's have a break and then we move on. Okay, guys, let's start. So now we have to find out the parameters, voltages and current for the full bridge inverter. And therefore, for this, we are going to again integrate to find out the RMS voltage at the output side, AC side. For this, we are going to integrate the DC supply Vs square, and for half of the time period, because other half we are going to get the negative voltage. So the total average time period is T by 2. And therefore we get the total voltage equal to the DC voltage. Because for this kind of waveform, this is Vs, and then on the other side we have minus Vs. So taking the square of this, we will get the square like this, a DC voltage like this. This is Vs. So therefore the RMS of this type of waveform is going to be the total Vs. So therefore output voltage is equal to the input voltage. And if we are going to find out the peak is going to be higher than the DC voltage. Okay, so now again we are going to apply the Fourier series analysis, and similarly we are going to get the, if we keep the wave symmetry as we have put in case of half bridge, the similar results we are going to get in the case of full bridge inverter. So the DC content, the cosine component, and even for the Bn even numbers, all of these components are going to get 0 if we follow the wave symmetry. And what is this wave symmetry? The duty cycle for positive and negative cycle must equal. Duty cycle of positive must equal negative cycle. So this is one condition. Second is the magnitude should be equal to Vs. And as far as full bridge is concerned, because now we have only the DC supply, although we have connected two capacitors, but we are not using the midpoint of those two. So therefore we are not concerned about the mismatch between C1 and C2. Whatever is the combination of C1 and C2, we are going to get the total voltage across capacitor is equal to Vs. So therefore there is no problem in case of magnitude, only the problem is the duty cycle. So we have to follow carefully the duty cycle in positive cycle and negative cycle, and therefore keeping the wave symmetry, all these components are automatically going to be 0. So now we end up with Vn. This is Vn for n equal to 1, 3, 5, only odd numbers. So therefore the Fourier analysis for full bridge inverter becomes very easy. So taking first fundamental from this Fourier series components, we just need to divide 4Vs over n pi by under root 2 to get the RMS value of nth harmonic. So for first harmonic, we just keep the n equal to 1, and therefore we get 4 Vs over under root 2 pi. And the resultant is 90% of the Vs, 90% of DC supply is equal to the first fundamental. Whereas in case of half bridge, we had 45% of the Vs. So this is the RMS voltage of first fundamental component. Similarly, in case of RL load, the current is going to be very similar. We have 4 Vs over n pi sine n omega t minus theta n. So theta n is again tan inverse of minus 1 tan inverse into n omega L by R. In case of inductive load, we will have harmonics generated in voltage, and therefore the currents are going to be also generated accordingly. So the same harmonic numbers follow over here as well, because current is just the ratio between voltage and impedance. So to finding the value of DC current, we'll assume the input and output powers, they are equal, and therefore we find out the DC current of the DC side, input side. We find out the ratio between voltage VO1 divided by Vs into I out cos theta 1 minus VO1 over Vs into I out cos 2 omega t minus theta 1. So why we are getting basically two components? It is basically, first component is without time or without frequency, whereas in power, because on right hand side we are calculating the power of AC voltage. So this output power is basically this component. So therefore, multiplying two sinusoidals, we get the power frequency as twice of the fundamental frequency, which is 50 Hertz, and the useful power is on the first component, which is VO1 divided by Vs, total current into cos of theta 1. Because the second component, its average is going to be 0. So now let's find out the parameter for single phase full bridge inverter. We take the same components, same variables as were given in the case of half bridge inverter. So the same supply is given 48 volts, the same load is given 2.4 ohms, and let's find out the all other components, including first fundamental, which is now improved from 45% to 90%. So therefore, first fundamental RMS voltage is 43.2 volts, whereas the total voltage is 48 volts, and therefore output power is 48 volts square divided by 2.4. So therefore now power is increased from 240 watts, which was the case in half bridge, to 960 watts. Almost 4 times power is increased. So now the peak current, as voltage is increased, so therefore 48 volts divided by 2.4, 20 amperes current is now increased from 10 amperes. So therefore, if we are going to increase from half bridge to full bridge, we cannot use the same half bridge inverter, because there we had the peak current 10 amperes. So therefore, in half bridge, the switches are selected at lower current rating as compared to full bridge inverter. In full bridge inverter, if the peak current is 20 amperes, obviously for safety we have to select the switches for even higher voltage, like 40 amperes or 50 amperes, to keep the safe operating area for the transistor, for the switches. Now the average current, if we find out that average current is equal to half of the peak current, and that is 10 amperes. So now the peak current, reverse blocking voltage is now the same, 48 volts, just like half bridge inverter. And the DC current. So DC current we will be finding from total power divided by the supply voltage, and that comes out to be 20 amperes. So why the source current, DC current, is equal to the peak current, not equal to the average transistor current? Can someone answer that? In half bridge case, the average transistor current was equal to the average source current, but this is not the case for full bridge inverter. Why? Because in this case we have now 4 switches, and for one direction 2 switches are operating. So DC current, average DC current comes 10 amperes for one half cycle.
सर ये क्वेश्चन रिपीट करें सर.
जी
सर ये क्वेश्चन रिपीट करें सर.
जी जरूर. In half bridge we had the average transistor current equal to the average supply voltage, but in case of full bridge we can see that the average transistor current, इसका डबल जो है वो एवरेज सप्लाई करंट है. वाई सो? बिकॉज जितना भी एवरेज करंट हम दो ट्रांजिस्टर में से पॉजिटिव साइकिल में से फ्लो कर रहे हैं, उतना ही एवरेज करंट अगले हाफ साइकिल में भी फ्लो कर रहा है. सो देयरफॉर बेसिकली सप्लाई इज प्रोवाइडिंग average transistor current twice in the cycle. ठीक है, यानी कि जैसे यहाँ पे IQ1 और IQ2 ये करंट है, तो हाफ ऑफ द साइकिल their peak is 20 amperes and then they become 0 for other half cycle. Similarly, if then comes the negative cycle, and current for IQ3 and 4. So after the 50%, the other side becomes high, and it is equal to 20 amperes. So that is why the supply current is twice of the average transistor current. Okay? Because supply is continuously providing the average current for both positive and negative cycle. ठीक है, तो सप्लाई करंट क्या प्रोवाइड कर रही है? सप्लाई करंट तो 20 एम्पेयर्स प्रोवाइड कर रही है. ठीक है, इसका हम जब एवरेज लेते हैं तो दैट कम्स आउट टू बी 10 एम्पेयर्स फॉर ट्रांजिस्टर करंट, बट सप्लाई इज supplying 20 amperes in the both cycles, so therefore the supply current is twice of the average transistor current. Hope that is clear. Now in next step we are going to find the total harmonic distortion, and therefore we need to find out the RMS harmonic voltage, and the simple form is to find out the difference of total voltage and first fundamental voltage. So total voltage is equal to yes, and the difference is 0.9 Vs. So we take the square of yes, we take the square of 0.9 and Vs, and then take the under root of this. So we get 43.4359 Vs. We divide it by 90%, which is first fundamental, and again we get that same total harmonic distortion, which is too large as compared to the standard 5%. So now finding out the distortion factor, if we connect a second order filter, then how much harmonics are going to be reduced. So after applying the LC filter, second order filter, still we get 5%, 5.3% distortion factor. That means even second order filter is not enough, and the solution is third order filter. But in practice we are not using third order filter, we still use second order filter, but we eliminate, we generate the harmonic PWM in such a way to reduce the harmonic factors, harmonic components. ठीक है, यानी कि हम ऐसी टेक्निक यूज करते हैं PWM जनरेशन के लिए, so that we don't have harmonics in the output voltage. ठीक है, और उन टेक्निक में से फिर वो आ जाती है साइन PWM के साइनोसॉइडल रेफरेंस को देखते हुए हम PWM जनरेशन जनरेट करें, so that our output voltage is very close to sinusoidal 50 Hz. ठीक है, और जो हार्मोनिक कंटेंट है दैट इज रिड्यूस्ड एज डिजायर्ड. सो साइन PWM अगर हम प्रॉपरली जनरेट करें विद इवन डेड टाइम्स एंड सो ऑन, सेफ्टी को भी सामने रखते हुए, देन द टोटल हार्मोनिक डिस्टॉर्शन इज इवन लेस देन 5% एंड समटाइम इट इज अराउंड 1.5%. which means the output voltage is very close to sinusoidal voltage. Now the last part is finding the lowest order of harmonic. So that is again 1/3. So the distortion factor is higher than 3%. So therefore third harmonic is the strongest one, and it is equal to 33% of the first fundamental. Okay. So let's
सर अगर डिस्टॉर्शन फैक्टर 3% से कम हो फिर उस केस में क्या होगा?
जी, डिस्टॉर्शन फैक्टर और हार्मोनिक फैक्टर दोनों अगर 3% से कम होंगे तो दैट मीन्स कि फिर हमारा जो लोएस्ट ऑर्डर ऑफ हार्मोनिक थर्ड नहीं होगा, 3 नहीं होगा, ठीक है। if in case harmonic factor is less than 3% and distortion factor is less than 3%, ठीक है, तो फिर हमारे पास जो फर्स्ट फंडामेंटल है इसके जो क्लोजेस्ट हार्मोनिक होगा दैट वुड बी लाइंग अवे फ्रॉम इट, ठीक है। सो अगर ये फर्स्ट फंडामेंटल है, थर्ड है, फिफ्थ है, सेवेंथ, नाइन्थ, 11th, मे बी को 13th और 15th जाके जो है वो स्ट्रॉन्ग हो, ठीक है, लेकिन एटलीस्ट थर्ड हार्मोनिक इज नॉट स्ट्रॉन्ग इनफ, ठीक है। तो इस केस में आपका जो एलसी फिल्टर है उसका कट ऑफ आप आराम से कहीं भी एडजस्ट कर सकते हैं, लेकिन जब थर्ड हार्मोनिक स्ट्रॉन्ग हो जाता है तो इसको एलिमिनेट करना दैट इज प्रैक्टिकली नॉट पॉसिबल, ठीक है। तो इसी वजह से ये आपको थर्ड ऑर्डर फिल्टर की तरफ फिर जाना पड़ता है so that we can suppress third harmonic less than the standard value, ठीक है। आगे चल के मैं आपको स्टैंडर्ड्स के जो है वो टेबल दिखाऊंगा जिसमें हर हार्मोनिक का स्टैंडर्ड्स के अंदर एक मैक्सिमम लिमिट गिवन है। सो अगर हमने एक सक्सेसफुल प्रोडक्ट बनानी है तो उसके लिए हमें स्टैंडर्ड्स को फॉलो करना पड़ेगा। ओके, सो एक एग्जांपल हमने देख ली विदाउट विद ओनली रेजिस्टिव लोड, ठीक है। तो सेकंड एग्जांपल इज विद दी RLC टाइप ऑफ लोड, ठीक है। तो पेपर में सिर्फ RL लोड भी आ सकता है, RC लोड भी आ सकता है। कैलकुलेशन इज गोइंग टू बी द इन अ सिमिलर पैटर्न, सही है। चलें, सो लेट्स से हमारे पास ब्रिज इन्वर्टर है। अच्छा, यहाँ पे अगर आपको फुल ब्रिज इन्वर्टर नहीं भी नजर आ रहा तो ब्रिज इन्वर्टर मींस के वी हैव टू हाफ ब्रिजेस, ठीक है। सो ब्रिज इन्वर्टर हैज अ लोड ऑफ RLC, so R is 10 ohms, inductor is 31.5 millihenry and capacitance is 112 microfarad. Inverter frequency is 50 Hertz and the DC input voltage is 20 volts. So we have to find out the instantaneous load current, obviously using Fourier analysis. We have to calculate the RMS load current for first fundamental, finding the total harmonic distortion through the load current. पहले हमने लोड वोल्टेज से फाइंड किया था, नाउ वी कैन फाइंड इट आउट यूजिंग द लोड करंट, ठीक है, इन अ सिमिलर फैशन। देन विल फाइंड द टोटल पावर, द फर्स्ट फंडामेंटल पावर, देन द एवरेज सप्लाई करंट and RMS and peak current of the transistors. So before finding out the RMS load current, we have to do some pre-solution pre-calculations जो कि हमें फाइंड आउट करना है impedance, the theta and the voltage formula we already have. ठीक है, so हमें करंट फाइंड आउट करने के लिए इम्पिडेंस की जरूरत है और साथ साथ उसके इम्पिडेंस एंगल की भी जरूरत है. ठीक है, so we first write down the formula and then we just go for the calculation. Okay, so we have to find out the total impedance. So therefore we have R as a resistor, then plus Jn omega L. Remember to keep the value of N over there, because in voltage we are going to have many harmonics, which is N numbers, nth harmonic. So इस लिहाज से जो हमारी इम्पिडेंस भी होगी वो भी n बेस्ड होगी, हार्मोनिक बेस्ड होगी, एंड माइनस J1 ओवर n ओमेगा C. तो इसको हमने कंबाइन करना. So how we are going to combine it? We will take the magnitude of impedance, R square plus n omega L minus 1 ओवर n ओमेगा C, इनका डिफरेंस लेके और फिर हम ओवरऑल स्क्वायर लेंगे, बल्कि इनका स्क्वायर रूट लेके फिर शायद डिफरेंस. या सो 10 स्क्वायर विच इज द रेजिस्टेंस, एंड देन वी हैव n ओमेगा विच इज 2 pi f. F is 50 hertz, so therefore 314 indicates 50 hertz omega, and then multiply by 31.5 milliampere. We will be taking square of this and then subtracting 1 over n omega C. N is harmonic number, omega is 314, and then C is 112 microfarad. So taking square of this, combining all three, and then taking the square root, we get the impedance angle, impedance magnitude, and then we need to find out the impedance angle, and that is tan inverse of n omega L minus 1 over n omega C. इसको solve करेंगे, divided by R, will get the theta n. ठीक है, so n put करते जाएंगे and we'll get the theta of that respective harmonic number. So now output voltage is basically 4 Vs over n pi into sine n omega t. So for this we will be finding VO1. This is 4 Vs over pi n equal to 1 और अंडर रूट 2 से डिवाइड करेंगे. So we'll get 220 volts multiplied by 0.9, because this is the formula we already get for first fundamental, and we can verify it by 4 Vs over अंडर रूट 2 pi. सॉल्व करेंगे तो हमारे पास सेम यही आंसर आ जाएगा. So now we are going to divide 198 by impedance Z1 and we'll get IO1. So how IO1 is, we can find out. We will be having, because we need to express instantaneous load current in form of Fourier series. So therefore we will be writing IO1 sine 314 minus theta 1, then plus IO3 sine 3 multiplied by 314 minus theta 3, and so on. So इस तरह से हम टोटल करंट को फूरियर फॉर्म में लिख सकते हैं. So what I would suggest is, for simplicity, to make a table in which we are going to find the value of Gn. On one side we have the value of n, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and then obviously for this we have Z1, Z3, and so on. Then similarly we need theta n, so theta 1, theta 3, and so on. Then we can separately find out the value of VON according to each harmonic number, and then divide VON by Zn, we get the value of ION. ठीक है, और साथ साथ उसके थीटा पुट करते जाएंगे तो हमारे पास इंस्टेंटेनियस वैल्यू आ जाएगी. ठीक है, एनी क्वेश्चन रिगार्डिंग दिस इंस्टेंटेनियस लोड करंट? इज इट क्लियर?
इसमें लास्ट में आपने फर्स्ट फंडामेंटल वोल्टेज फाइंड किए, इसके बाद आपने किस क्या किया?
सॉरी, क्वेश्चन रिपीट कीजिए.
सर आपने जो फर्स्ट फंडामेंटल वोल्टेज फाइंड किए ना
जी जी,
लास्ट, इसके बाद आपने इक्वल टू आई फर्स्ट फंडामेंटल करंट के बराबर लिए सर.
जी. उसमें यह ना कि आपके पास VO1 आ गया. ठीक है, इसको हम डिवाइड करेंगे Z1 से, तो ये आपके पास आ जाएगा IO1.
यस सर, सही है सर.
ठीक है, तो चूंकि VO1 आपका इस केस में आया 198, तो डिवाइड करेंगे Z1 से, तो आपके पास आ जाएगा फर्स्ट फंडामेंटल करंट. ये उसका का आएगा RMS वैल्यू आएगी, और जब हमने उसको इस तरह इंस्टेंटेनियस फॉर्म में लिखना है तो यहाँ पे चूंकि साइन ओमेगा के साथ है तो यहाँ उसकी पीक आएगी. ये ज़हन में रखिए. ठीक है, जो कि हमें आ रही है 4Vs/n पाई. ठीक है, तो 4Vs/n पाई डिवाइडेड बाय Zn, दैट गिव्स अस द पीक. और RMS हम कैसे फाइंड कर रहे हैं? 4Vs/n पाई डिवाइडेड बाय √2. ठीक है, तो ये इस चीज का जरा ख्याल रखना है जब आप कैलकुलेशन कर रहे हो. ठीक है, RMS इज डिवाइडेड बाय √2, और जब नॉर्मल हम लिख रहे हैं इंस्टेंटेनियस फॉर्म में तो वहां पे हमने करंट की पीक वैल्यू लिखनी है. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट क्लास में आपको मैं एक्सेल की एक फाइल बना के दिखाऊंगा. ठीक है, कि एक्सेल में आप किस तरह से ये कैलकुलेशन जो है वो कर सकते हैं, जस्ट फॉर दी वेरिफिकेशन. आप कैलकुलेटर से एक दफ़ा कर लें और एक्सेल से कर लें, ताकि आपकी एक अच्छी जो है वो प्रैक्टिस हो जाए. ठीक है, तो एक्सेल फाइल जो है वो मैं आपको नेक्स्ट क्लास में वो शो कर दूँगा. Okay, so next is finding out the total harmonic distortion of the current. One way is to get all the currents, IO3 square, IO5 square, IO7 square, and so on. ठीक है, तो इसमें हम लार्ज नंबर का जो करंट है वो नहीं ले सकते. We'll take just 4 or 5 components, जिसमें जो 6 कंपोनेंट होगा दैट वुड बी वेरी स्मॉल. ठीक है, मिली एम्पेयर्स में जब चला जाए तो वहां पे हम उसको निगलेक्ट कर सकते हैं. तो विल टेक ओनली 4 और 5 कंपोनेंट्स. ठीक है, पेपर के हिसाब से अगर देखा जाए तो आपने हार्मोनिक करंट इस तरह से फाइंड करना है। तो यू कैन टेक ओनली 4 to 5 कंपोनेंट, प्रोवाइडेड के जो आपका 6 कंपोनेंट है दैट इज कंपेयर टू थर्ड वेरी स्मॉल। ठीक है, लेट्स से थर्ड आपका अगर 1 एम्पियर है और IO9 जो है वो अगर आपके पास 0.01 आ रहा है तो फिर उसको ऑब्वियसली कंसिडर करने की जरूरत नहीं है। ठीक है, तो जस्ट इनको स्क्वायर सम लेके और स्क्वायर रूट लेंगे और जो फर्स्ट फंडामेंटल करंट है उससे डिवाइड कर देंगे तो ये हमारे पास करंट की टोटल हार्मोनिक डिस्टॉर्शन वो आ जाए। ठीक है, देन वी कैन फाइंड आउट द टोटल पावर। टोटल पावर इज इक्वल टू द सप्लाई वोल्टेज, so 220 volts square divided by 10 we are going to get the total power, or VO1 is PO1 is VO1 RMS value, IO1 RMS value and cos theta 1। ठीक है, सिमिलरली हमने IO1 फाइंड कर लिया था, so we can calculate it IO1 square by multiply by R। IS फाइंड करेंगे, टोटल पावर 220 square divided by 10 divided by 220, so 220 by 10, so therefore we will get 22 amperes supply current। ठीक है, तो आपने फाइंड आउट करना है आई पीक ऑफ ऑल करंट, तो उसके लिए आपको चाहिए आई पीक ऑफ फर्स्ट फंडामेंटल, आई पीक ऑफ थर्ड, आई पीक ऑफ फिफ्थ, सेवन, सो ऑन। ठीक है, और सबको स्क्वायर लेके सम करेंगे, स्क्वायर रूट लेंगे तो आपके पास आ जाएगा आई पीक एंड दैट इज द पीक करंट ऑफ ट्रांजिस्टर। देन आरएमएस लेना है तो आई पीक डिवाइडेड बाय √2 विल गिव अस द टोटल करंट, RMS value of the total current। ठीक है, so these are the required components। इसको हम नेक्स्ट क्लास में एक्सेल की फॉर्म में देख लेंगे एंड देन वी मूव ऑन टू 3-phase इन्वर्टर। एनी क्वेश्चन रिगार्डिंग these components, these things?
सिर्फ पेपर पैटर्न के बारे में बता देना लेक्चर।
वो हम नेक्स्ट वीक में पेपर पैटर्न और रिवीजन करेंगे तो वो उसके अंदर हम ये फाइनल करेंगे।
सर कोर्स खत्म हो जाएगा इस वीक?
जी, नेक्स्ट वीक में कोर्स हमारा कंप्लीट हो जाएगा।
सर ये वीक
नेक्स्ट वीक है सर।